I love excitement in here. All right, folks, my name is Jarryd McCree, and I'm a senior product manager here at GitHub. And today we're going to do a deep dive into some of the newest features we've released. I was able to do this talk last year, so I'm incredibly fortunate, excited, and happy to do it again. So in my professional career, I've been a developer, I've been a product manager, been a startup founder, and a consultant. And I got to tell you, I love being a product manager. I love diving into the UX with the design team and then going through the day-to-day with my engineering team. But all this starts out with my favorite part of the job, which is talking with customers like you. Fortunately, here at GitHub, I've been able to work with a wide array of different customers. Some of them are students, executives, QA, security, DevOps, the works. And part of my job is taking the feedback from all of those conversations and distilling it into a coherent story that I can tell our design and engineering teams. To me, product managers are storytellers too, and that's probably what attracted me to being a product manager in the first place, because I've loved stories since I was a kid. Video games, movies, fiction, nonfiction, loved them all. I remember when I was in elementary school and the Scholastic Book Fair came around, I always asked my parents for a bunch of money so I could get a big stack of books, and somehow they always had enough money for that. But I really think that laid the groundwork for me being a storytelling PM. So again, we're going to go into a bunch of our newest features, and when I thought about how to shape this talk, I thought about what's the most coherent story I can tell you? How can I present this material in a logical manner so that you're able to have actionable steps when you walk away? Because the goal of this speech, and what I want you to all to be able to walk away with, is having actionable steps that'll help you in your project or your business. So I'm going to tell you a series of stories on the features that we've made, how we built them, and why we built them. So the name of this talk is Deepest Dive into Our Newest Features, and we've released hundreds of things in the past year, so I can't go through them all. So when I was thinking about which ones to choose, I thought about who's going to be here in the audience. You know, we've got press, we've got developers, we've got executives, and because it's GitHub, I know someone's dog is stuffed around here somewhere. But for today, I'm going to talk about three distinctive people, three specific personas: the developer, the project manager, and the enterprise owner. Now, many of the features that I'm going to walk through, they apply to more than one persona, and that's okay. What I'm going to talk about is how this particular feature applies to this particular persona. And I'm going to start off with the developer. Now, you've probably heard in the keynotes and the speakers before, our goal is to be the home for all developers, not just hobby devs, not just architects, not just security-minded folks, the home for all developers. And everyone in this room is a developer, whether you code right now or not. Now, I get to talk with a lot of new developers, and it's always sobering for me to do that. You know, some are in school, some are trying to create a new product or for a startup, and some are looking for a career change. Now, all of them have the exact same question: where do I even start? Now, we have 40 million developers who use GitHub, and it would be very easy for us to think that everyone knows Git or GitHub, and that's absolutely not the case. At GitHub, we have a responsibility to help you regardless of your skill level. We want to help new developers take that first step. I mean, the four things we want to teach especially are, how do you use Git? What's the correct merging flow? How do you use pull requests and comments? How do you set up an IDE, or what is an IDE even? So GitHub Desktop is an open source cross-platform application that brings GitHub into your local environment. And it's available for the low price of free today, and you can download it at desktop.github.com. Now, GitHub Desktop isn't a replacement for github.com. It is meant as a tool to allow you to be more productive. We understand that Git can be intimidating, especially for new developers, and GitHub Desktop is designed to make interactions with Git more approachable and easier. Now, the GitHub Desktop team has been doing a lot of research, and through their research, they learned that most people learn Git from a buddy, be it a friend, a coworker, a professor, or even a YouTube video. Now, based on that feedback, we created a Git and GitHub tutorial to be your buddy. And so let's take a look at it right now. When you download GitHub Desktop for the first time, you're going to see a little button on top that says Create a Tutorial Repository. At this phase, we're focused on two things. One, creating a repository, and two, connecting an editor. Now, there's many tools that you need to get set up in coding, but getting an IDE, getting a code editor set up is one of the first things you need. And if you needed any advice on one, I highly recommend Atom. This little company called GitHub made it and maintains it, so I highly recommend that. After that, we're going to walk you through the GitHub flow. That's a branch-based workflow that supports collaboration. And the steps that you're going to go through after that are creating a new branch, making a change to a file, committing it, and then pushing it up to GitHub. Now, all of this is leading up to the beautiful thing that we like to call the pull request. Now, I know we all mostly probably know what a pull request is, but just as a quick refresher, pull requests provide a forum to discuss proposed changes on a branch before you merge them in. Now, before pull requests, actually getting new code into a branch was kind of a pain in the butt. If you worked on a team, you had to bring your changes in locally, you had to test them, find out what changes you needed, go to a meeting in real life with your team, discuss them, go back to your computer, make those changes, and do that whole cycle again before you actually were able to commit that branch to master. Now, meeting with your team in real life is wonderful, but you lose a lot of productivity. And the benefits of pull requests are you're able to assign and make reviews, add integrations, and work remotely. It's a great tool for a remote team and to be a very distributed team. Now, all features evolve, and pull requests have been out for a long time. And the natural evolution of pull requests were work-in-progress PRs. Now, work-in-progress pull requests, there's a couple different reasons people did that. You would open them to show progress on work, but not necessarily need feedback. You may be experimenting with something, and you don't intend to merge it. Or you open a PR with no code, just to start a discussion. Now, the problem with work-in-progress PRs is you always have to tag it. You always have to add that WIP in the top and the title. If you have code owners on a pull request, as soon as you open that PR, they're getting pinged. And at that time, you don't need them to review. So once you need them to actually perform a review, you have to ping them again. And if you have CI running, it can be very expensive, and you don't necessarily need it at that time. So we wanted to save you time here at GitHub. So we created draft PRs. And now these are available right now on .com as well as GitHub Enterprise Server. And there's many wins and many advantages to this, but there are three specific big wins I want to talk about for work-in-progress PRs. One, they automatically tag it. You're automatically showing your team that this is in draft status. And this is something that you can use throughout every team. If you're on multiple teams or multiple orgs, some may put WIP in the top, someone may say do not merge, but having draft PRs is a common practice that you'll be able to use throughout all your organizations. It also prevents accidental merging. You cannot merge a draft PR. It has to go into ready for review status, and it obviously reduces unneeded notifications. So change is good. But change is also very hard, and we wanted to reduce the friction to adopting this feature. So we put it directly in the same button as regular PR. Just click on that drop-down on the right, select Draft PR, and now you've opened your draft pull request. And again, this is a repeatable pattern that you can use throughout all your different orgs and your teams. Now, this doesn't break how you code. It doesn't break how you do commits. All of that is exactly the same. As soon as you're ready to use or mark that draft pull request as ready for review, you just click on Ready for Review, and that's when the feedback starts. Now, on a pull request, as you all know, there's many types of feedback you get. Sometimes people come in and say this is great, or you need a test. Sometimes they're saying this is great, approved. And sometimes it's not so positive. I think my favorite pull request comment I've ever gotten, I was up till like 3 in the morning coding one time, and I woke up and the PR comment was, at Jarryd, this is the hottest of garbage. Smiley face emoji. But that's what happens. Now, sometimes as a reviewer, when you come in, you know exactly what needs to be changed. Like sometimes it's a typo, sometimes it's linting, sometimes you actually know what code needs to be added in. Now, adding these changes can be cumbersome. You have to copy that line, put it in a comment, and then the author actually has to come back, go into their local environment, paste that code snippet, and then push it back up. It would be great if we could make that easier. And that's what we did with suggested changes. So what you're seeing behind me is a reviewer coming in and making a comment on a PR. At that time, they actually found out which line of code they want to change. So what they're doing here is they're clicking on a button that says Insert a Suggested Change. That copies that line of code into the comment, and the reviewer at that point is able to actually make the change to the code, or suggest it rather. On the flip side, for the author, I'm going to wait till it gets caught up here. That author is able to see the diff between what they wrote and what the reviewer made. And they're able to either accept that or deny it. Now, if they accept it, what's great is that the reviewer is added as a co-author. So on your contribution graph, you actually get credit for making that suggested change. And this is available today on Enterprise Cloud, as well as GitHub Enterprise Server for all those enterprise folks out there. This doesn't break any existing workflows. It's just a great painkiller feature that saves time for both the developer and the reviewer. Now again, as I talked about earlier, features evolve. And based on that feedback that you all gave us, you said that you love this, but you want more. Now the feedback said that there's a lot of noise when accepting a lot of different changes. For example, if you have 30 different suggested changes in a pull request, that's 30 different commits. And the universal feedback was that you wanted to batch all of those together. So we added the ability to add suggestions to a batch. This way, if you have multiple suggestions, or maybe 3 or 4 that actually need to be added at the same time so you can have clean history, you can do that. One of the pieces of feedback we got was that for certain functional programming languages, if you only commit one suggested change but not 2 others, it actually breaks the application. So now you're able to add them all to a batch and then commit them as one single commit. So at this point, we talked about GitHub Desktop, using PRs, reviewing, getting them merged. You're doing work. Now for any developer, you need to be able to track that work. And you do that using user-owned project boards. Now, why the heck am I talking to you about project boards? There's plenty of apps out there that do it. Project boards aren't new. Well, the feedback we got was that our project boards weren't enough. For example, when you need to manage your own work, sometimes originally project boards were only tied to a repository. So if you're working on projects across multiple repos, it wasn't very easy to use that, especially if you're in multiple teams. And also the piece of feedback we got was that you wanted to manage in your own style. If you're in a repo, not your own personal project, you're kind of tied to whatever style they want. You want to be able to manage that work in your own way. Now, the solution that we made makes it so you don't need to be tied to a repository. You can organize and plan in your own style, and you can do this all within GitHub. We want to be the home for all developers, and if you have to go to an outside application to track your work, you're not at home anymore. So this is available on .com as well as Enterprise Server, and it's super easy to set up. Go to your profile page, which is github.com/your-handle. Click on the Projects tab on the very top. From there, you're able to make your project boards private. You can make them public. You can add in automation with Kanban or Kanban, depending on how you like to say it. But you can also link to any repository that you have access to. This makes it easier to add issues and pull requests which are related to the repositories you work in. And you're able to track this work for both the open source work you do as well as the enterprise work. Now, project boards aren't meant to track everything. You get pinged on something in a comment. There's a new feature that you found in a repo that you want to use. There's a person you want to follow. Like, you're not going to put all that in a project board. That's not scalable. So how do you track that? You have 90 million tabs open. And personally, this is a huge problem for me. I have intricate setups in Gmail to highlight stuff. I've got too many Chrome windows and Firefox windows with a bunch of tabs. And what this told us is that we didn't have what you needed. You needed home. You needed something better. So we needed to overhaul our notification process. Now, My colleague Becca talked about this in the keynote earlier, but we've released this in beta. Now, the benefits of our new notification program notification feature are that it's a consolidated view for triaging and context gathering. You can also, similar to email, you can mark things as read, unread, unsubscribe, archive, and even save them. You can also filter by project. We have a bunch of filters that are available by default, but you can also create your own custom ones to track what you want to. Now let's take a look at what this looks like. So as you can see, this is very similar to email that you've seen before. If you look on the top left, you can see what's unread, what's in your inbox. You can also save notifications to come back to them later. We have 5 default filters added straight out of the box, but you can add those custom ones as you want. Again, this is made to help you eliminate tabs and help you triage your notifications better. Now, this is the first project that I've mentioned that is in beta, and we have a good amount of features in beta. So how do you enable this? This is something you have to opt into. So what we did for this, and it's a little bit different, we created a feature to enable this feature called Feature Preview. Now, Feature Preview we added about 2 weeks ago, and we did this to allow just to have like a consolidated list of all the features that are in beta right now. And what this enables you to do is actually give more consolidated feedback to humans like me and other product managers on the features that we've released in beta. Because if you're happy, we want to hear it. If you're unhappy, we also want to hear it because we want to make things better. Here at GitHub, we staff ship everything. So we test all of it internally. But we also do early access programs for maintainers and such. But we wanted to cast a wider net. We wanted to get more feedback from all of you users. So how do you set this up? You go to your home page, click on the top right on your avatar, and navigate down to Feature Preview. From there, you'll see a list of everything in beta, including the notifications that I just mentioned. You're able to opt in, turn it on, turn it off, and you're also able to provide feedback, and that goes directly to our product team and our engineering teams. And this gives a centralized place for all that feedback. I was talking with Katie, who's the product manager for this, and she had a great line that I wanted to let you all know. When we release stuff, it matters to our community, and we want to make sure you have a voice. This feature is here so you know that when you're actually giving feedback on a particular feature, it goes directly to the product manager. So that is for the individual developer. Now we're going to talk about the project manager. And while we strive to be the home for all developers, we know that more than just coders work here. And for project managers, we need to make sure that we're making tools to help them. Now, the duties of the project manager are a little bit different than the developer. The project manager, you're dealing with resource planning, budget monitoring, risk management, and organizing and managing a team. Organizing and managing a team on GitHub, you do that through roles and permissions. Now, traditionally, we only had 3 roles that you use to manage GitHub. Those were read, write, and admin. And you all told us, that's not good enough. We need more than that. We need more fine-grained permissions. And so at Satellite, we introduced 2 new roles, the triage and maintain roles, which we've actually GA'd now for both enterprise server as well as on cloud. Now, the triage role can be thought of as read plus. Users with this role are able to triage a repository without having write access to it. They're able to open and close PRs and issues, request reviews from developers, as well as manage milestones. On the other hand, the maintain role can be thought of as write plus. These particular users are able to manage the entire repository without having access to potentially destructive capabilities like deleting a repository. They can manage the entire software development lifecycle for that repo, including pushing to protected branches, locking conversations, and managing interaction limits. And it fits directly into the current workflow. To get it set up, you go to the Settings tab on your repository, and then click on Collaborators and Teams on the left. From there, you're able to apply these roles to both teams, members, and actually as well outside collaborators. And very soon in the next couple months, we'll be releasing this ability to add this as a base role so that any new members who come into your org automatically get that role. Now, another duty of the project manager is project planning. And GitHub issues are a super powerful feature to help with this. You use them to communicate requirements, deadlines, and even ask for help on particular subjects. And here at GitHub, we use GitHub issues for everything. One of the problems with issues, though, is that there's no standard way to add issues. And this leads to a lot of unneeded cleanup for project managers. And it would be great if GitHub automated that. So we did. And we did that using issue templates. Now, issue templates help guide users through the correct path when creating users. The benefits of this are, when creating issues. Now, the benefits of this are you get higher quality content, you reduce the triaging for the project manager, and you also have better onboarding for new users because they know the style that they need to be writing their issues in. Now, how do you use this? Very simple. You navigate to the Settings tab on your repository, scroll down, and click on Issue Templates. Now, we give 2 standard issue templates from the beginning. Those are bug reports and feature requests, but you're able to customize these as much as you want. The things you can customize are you can add suggested titles for these issues. You can also customize the markdown format in the body. You can automate what labels get assigned to these, as well as who gets assigned to those particular issues. This is another way to further automate your software development lifecycle process. Now, issue templates live in your repository in the .github/issue template folder. Now, this is great because if you have multiple repositories and you want to use those same templates throughout, you can just copy that folder from one, put it in the other, and it's going to have the exact same issue templates for all of them. Again, all features evolved. And based on your feedback, there was 2 major ones that we needed to change. A very common use case for maintainers is someone will come in and write a question in an issue. There's nothing wrong with that, but it would be better suited to be asked in a Slack question, or a Slack channel. So you all asked us, how can we direct our users to our Slack workspace or channel? Another common thing that happens is someone will go into a repository and create an issue, and it'll be blank. It'll just have a title. Thanks, dude. Super cool, but that doesn't help anybody, and that just leads to the project manager having to go back and ask more and more questions. So we added more control with issue templates and a YAML file. So this YAML file lives within the issue template directory, and it gives you more control over your issue templates. As you can see here in the top left, I've turned off blank issues, so people have to use issue templates, or one of the provided templates that you had, and there can't be any more blank issues. They can also link to external resources. What I have shown here is linking to the GitHub community forum, as well as the bug bounty program, but you can link to a Slack workspace as well. And being that all of this is in Git, it's version, so you can audit this as well if whoever changes it. Another problem that we ran into is duplicate issues. As much as you set up issue templates, people are still going to put in duplicates there. So we introduced this small, sexy little feature called similar issues. So what you're seeing here on the right is I'm going into the Rails org and I'm going to add in a bug report. Rails uses issue templates, so shout out to them. But what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to add in a bug for an invalid argument. As soon as I start typing invalid argument, what shows below is about 4 different other bugs that have already been opened up for that invalid argument. Now, what the benefits of this are, it helps users find existing issues that already have pertinent details. If you're going to open a bug report and it's already been made, you actually may be able to find a workaround that'll help you, and you don't actually have to log that bug report. Second thing, again, helps project managers and maintainers in triaging duplicate issues. So that's another problem that we help solve. Something else is incorrectly filed issues. So a lot of project managers, they have multiple different repositories, and as much as you try and get issues in that right repo, they're not always going to do it. And for the project manager, what you're having to do is delete one issue, copy the content here, put it in another repo, tell people to go to this issue, not that one, and it's just a lot of wasted time. So we wanted to reduce those manual steps it takes to transfer an issue, and that's why we created Transfer Issue. Now, transfer issues don't just navigate the content of the issue, but it migrates all the associated metadata as well, the assignees, the labels, all of that also goes over. And there's no need to update users on the new location of the issue. They're automatically redirected once that issue is transferred. And this is available on GitHub.com as well as Enterprise Server. Now, how do you use this? Super easy. Navigate to the issue that you want to transfer and click on that beautiful button on the right that says Transfer Issue. From there, you're able to choose a repository that you'd like to transfer it to. You can transfer it to any repository that you own or anyone that you have write access to. Once you've done that, click on Transfer Issue, and we take it from there in terms of migrating all that content. This is just another thing that just saves time for the project manager. Now, that's all I'm going to talk about with issues right now. Another duty of the project manager is setting up new projects. And typically, something that we find with a lot of organizations is that they have a quote-unquote blessed scaffolding for a particular, for how they want repositories. They know how they want the file and directory structure to be set up. They have the issue templates they want. But a lot of time is spent getting that initial scaffolding set up. And it would be great if GitHub could automate it. So we did. And we did that with repository templates. Now, repository templates allow any user with write access to a repo to mark it as a template. After that, any user that has read access to that particular repository can come in and use it as a template, and it'll have the exact same files and directories as its base. This is available on GitHub.com as well as Enterprise Server. And setting it up, super easy. Navigate to the Settings tab on your repository and click on Mark as Template. Done. Now, any user that wants to go in and create a new repository with that template can just go to that repository and click Use this as a template, or use the URL to get it set back up. So folks, we've talked about now the developer, we've talked about the project manager, and now I'm going to talk about the needs of the enterprise owner. So the needs of the enterprise owner are a little bit different because your responsibilities are different. The enterprise owner is thinking about effective DevOps, automation, security and compliance, continuous integration. They're also thinking about how do I make sure that all the platforms that my employees use are easy to use. You're trying to make sure that those platforms are cost efficient because we all have a finance department. And we want to make sure that we're able to easily enforce policies across all of your applications. Ultimately, you're trying to maximize innovation while reducing risk. Now, here at GitHub, while we do focus on enterprises, GitHub was built on open source. And while the needs of enterprises differ from the open source community, there are concepts that can be applied to enterprises to drive innovation. Now, new applications, regardless of where they are made of about 80 to 90% open source software. So enterprises are reliant on open source whether they know it or not. A common issue for organizations is working in silos. Now, silos prevent collaboration both internally within your teams, but also externally within the community, and your community and an enterprise being your enterprise team. Now, the open source community teaches us to foster more collaboration in a concept that we call inner sourcing. Now, inner sourcing applies the lessons of open source to all software engineering. And it does this to increase quality, speed, and developer joy. And the fundamentals of inner sourcing are open communication, transparency, and internal collaboration. Now, internal collaboration isn't simple. It's often multiple teams working across multiple projects can become disconnected, and this results in duplicative work, a loss of cross-team communication, and a loss of knowledge sharing. Now, at best, this creates a drag on productivity, but in the worst case, it creates security exploits. There's a very common one that happened where a bug was found in a team and they fixed it, but didn't tell the other team that they worked with. And this actually created a very large exploit, which we all have had to deal with. Now, GitHub has been known to help distributed teams collaborate for a long time, and we're trying to do that to just better drive innovation within the open source community as well as within enterprises. Now, we're continuing to enable enterprises by building this very cool feature we call internal repositories. Now, internal repositories add the ability to see the same repository across any organization. You can search for, discover, reuse code, and contribute to those high-value projects all within your enterprise. For the enterprise owner, this gives you peace of mind because no outside contractors will be able to see these internal repositories. None of your IP will be released. And it's very simple to set up a new repository with this setting. Click on New Repository. You'll see a third setting called Internal, and you'll set it right there. And this is all done through the enterprise account. Now, the enterprise account gives administrators a single point of view, a single point of visibility into the management of their organization. And a big thing for the enterprise owner or the enterprise admin is managing policies. And you can manage policies at this level. You can set the repo creation permissions. Do you want people to be able to create public repositories, private, internal, or a combination of both? Do you want forking on your organization? Do you want your users to be able to fork from private and internal repositories? You can also control invitations. If you don't want outside collaborators in your org, you can set this policy at this level, as well as repo and issue deletion. You can turn this on or off at this level. Now, security is also managed at this level. You can enforce two-factor authentication throughout your entire organization. You can set up SAML, either your own custom one or a proprietary one, as well as view the audit log data. We have a very cool little GUI that actually shows you where your instances are being accessed from. Now, we have this concept called enterprise fundamentals. It means that we actually need to deliver certain functionality to our enterprises to allow them to innovate. And through that feedback and through the conversations we've had with enterprises, you said that we needed an IP filtering. So in alpha today, we've allowed IP allow lists. Now, IP allow lists allows GitHub Enterprise Cloud customers the ability to filter traffic from specified IP addresses. You can filter the login, of course, but also SAML SSO. It also filters private personal access tokens, as well as SSH keys, all done through the enterprise account. It's very easy to enable this. Go into your enterprise account and click on Settings on the left. From there, navigate down to Security, and you'll see IP allow lists in the very bottom. From there, you're able to restrict or filter IP addresses, individual IP addresses, or an IP range, as well as adding in a description. Now, this is available in alpha, and we'll be releasing it in beta in the next couple weeks. But if you'd like to actually get involved in that beta, there's a gentleman right there in the hoodie. You can talk to him, and you can get on the beta list. Now, we've talked a lot today. We've talked about a couple of different things, so let's review. We talked about the developer, the project manager, and the enterprise owner. For the developer, we got you started with GitHub Desktop, and then you open your first draft pull request. Once you made that pull request, your reviewer gave you some suggested changes, and you tracked your work on your project board. From there, you were actually triaging notifications that you enabled through feature preview. For the project manager, we gave you more fine-grained permissions with triage in the maintain role. You set up issue templates to guide your users better and how you want them to set up their issues. You reduced duplicate issues with similar issues, and then you transferred issues with issue transfer. And to get started up with projects better, you have repository templates. For the enterprise owner, we talked about the concepts of inner sourcing and how internal repositories drive that and how it's all controlled through the enterprise account. I told you about our new feature, IP allow lists, to help enterprises more. Now, folks, I told you a series of stories on the features we've built and how we built them to help you all. And what I'd like you to think about as you walk out of here is, what's going to be the story on the features you've built? Build now and build in the future. And in the spirit of open source, whatever you end up building, GitHub will be there for you. Thanks for your time.